All right. Now we'll move to a very, very important part, which is the product life cycle. And I had covered this in one previous slide also when I talked about what does a product manager do, right? So the product life cycle is one thing that you need to understand very carefully. So when we talk about a product life cycle, we want to look at the entire journey of how the product was built, right? And the second thing is customer journey mapping. We want to look at the journey of a customer. How does the customer react to the product initially, and you know how does the customer finally get converted? Now there are a lot of steps involved. The customer gets to know about the product. From that stage to the customer becomes a regular subscriber, a paying customer, right? So that potential customer becoming a paying customer, there are a lot of steps involved in between. And that is where we talk about customer journey mapping. So the product life cycle I've already explained to you, right? That is the entire life cycle from the ideation part to the launch part, ideating the product to finally going ahead and launching the product, right? I'll quickly write two words so that you get the idea of next time when you hear this term product life cycle, you get these two words in your mind: ideation to launch. All right. When we talk about customer journey mapping, we talk about all these steps. Initially, the customer was just like a was a potential customer basically, right? He was not a paying customer. But now that person, towards the end, that person became a promoter, which means that he himself is a paying customer, but he's so loyal as a customer, or he's so much into the product that he starts promoting your product. He's a very, very good customer that way, right? So although I'll just quickly talk about all the steps that are involved here. Awareness is the first step. The person gets to know about the product. Let's take a product here so that I can explain better. What product should we take? Any suggestions?
Sir, any application we can use, mobile application.
uh, s- Give an example. WhatsApp, or
Some
let's take
Zomato or Swiggy is kind of.
Zomato. Okay, yeah, Zomato is a good example. Or Swiggy, let's say Swiggy. I think more people use Swiggy probably. So Swiggy, initially people didn't know about Swiggy. Swiggy was operating for so in fact Zomato was operating for a very, very long time, but people didn't know about Zomato. Only when more and more people started using Zomato, that is when through word of mouth and through advertisements, all of that, people came to know about Zomato. So awareness is definitely one part. Without awareness, people would not get to know about the product. That is the first step, the initiation step basically. Then uh, engagement is basically when we start engaging with when the user starts engaging with the product or starts using the product, even if the person does not buy something from your app, even if the person does not order from Swiggy, but still opens the app, or not even opening, just downloads the app, right? That the engagement process starts there itself. So the person downloads the app, opens the app, and starts looking at what all Swiggy offers, what all Swiggy sells, what all restaurants are listed there on the application, all of that. Then subscribe. Now this is a subjective life cycle. This is a subjective funnel, right? This is an inverted funnel. So no, this is a normal funnel. So when people subscribe, this step might be there in some applications. In case of Swiggy, this is not there. People are not subscribing to anything as such. People buy the subscription, that is a separate thing. But initially, when the person downloads and opens the app, that is engagement. And when the person orders something, that is conversion. So when the person orders an app, or sorry, orders some food from some restaurant on Swiggy, that is when he or she gets converted. He's a converted customer that way. So conversion is this. That is one successful order, let's say, right? The person has carried out one order, has ordered once from the app. Next is excite stage. Now the person is really excited about buying more food from Swiggy, you know, starts exploring the app even further and is very, very excited by the application. That is the excite stage. And that is when he ascends, which means he climbs the ladder, right? Ascending is basically when he goes up in the customer, so customer growth part. He grows as a customer, right? He ascends the ladder and he goes ahead and places another order, or let's say five, six more orders he starts placing. So he is now a regular customer, and now he can even subscribe, which means he can probably buy a subscription. Swiggy, for Zomato, there was some Zomato Gold earlier. Now it is Zomato Pro. So the person subscribes, and then after subscribing, after all of this is done, the person starts advocating. He tells about the product to some more people through word of mouth, right? He messages some of them that, hey, I ordered food from Zomato today. I think it was great. Why don't you go ahead and order food from Zomato? So that is the advocation stage. The user starts advocating about the product, right? And finally, he can become a promoter, and that is when he starts sharing referral codes, right? He directly brings people onto the platform through one single message or one word of mouth kind of thing. So he shares the referral code with people, and people start paying attention to what this person has to say and start joining the platform through this person, right? So he becomes a promoter. And from awareness to promotion is a very subjective life cycle. What I mean to say is that some products might not have the subscribe stage, some products might not have the excite stage, some might not have ascend stage. So in case of Swiggy was a very good example. We had all these stages. The subscribe stage is slightly dicey here because uh, so Swiggy has some kind of subscription, I think, right? So that is there. Subscribe stage is still there. But yeah, some companies don't have this subscribe stage. And some companies might not have some other stage. So this is very subjective, and we might not have all the steps in this customer journey mapping. So that is it about CJM. Any questions till now? Okay, if the product changes, yes, these steps can change, which means that no, let's say the product changes to YouTube. Now for YouTube, we have awareness, we have engagement. For YouTube Premium, we have subscribe stage, but we don't have the convert stage, I think, here. Or even convert stage is there when we start watching videos. We might have excite stage. So when the product stages, I mean, when the product improves or there's some kind of staging or MVP there, or the product pivots, then one or two of these steps may get eliminated, right? So I think that is your question. If the product improves or there's some kind of change within the same product, then there might be some change in the product life cycle. But yeah, usually it remains the same. For example, I release a 2.0 version of an Android app, right? The overall steps would remain the same essentially. There's a slight possibility that the company removes the convert stage altogether or removes the excite stage altogether. There's a possibility, but in general, when we launch a new version of the product, all these stages are there, right? Um, Whatever stages were there, let's say there were about five stages in the product. And when I launch a newer version of the application, when I update the app, again, all these five stages would most probably remain. So these would be there even after updation, even after updating the app. And when I change the product altogether, let's say I move from Swiggy to YouTube, uh, there is definitely a possibility that you know only some of these steps would be there. So that is, I think, understood. All right. I think we can continue this in the next session. We'll continue this tomorrow, and we'll have very interesting stuff coming up because this is where we start worrying about the user. Now, till here, we were understanding the needs of the user, right? We were understanding the life cycle of the user. And now is the time we'll start solving the problems. We'll worry about what all are the problems of the user and how do we solve them? How do we address those problems? And then we'll even talk something about wireframing, right? And we'll look at UI UX, and yeah, this is UI UX. We'll talk about the tools, and then we'll start talking about product development and A/B testing. So that is what we have in store for the next sessions. If there are any questions, feel free to ask, and if there are none, feel free to leave the session. That is it for today, folks. Thank you, everyone.